Okay, in this video and this craziness, we're working on that. Working on the rockers, trying to get the body mounted to the chassis if possible. So stick around. What I got going on is I went to my buddy's house and he gave me that steel. I think I mentioned that in my previous video, or yeah, in the video I released about the cowl on that thing. I went and got the steel. He gave me some 2x4 steel tubing for me to try and start doing the rockers on this. And I wanted to show you something. I went and got it, and it was pretty. It had a lot of rust on it. Been sitting for quite some time. Let me show you what I got here. That's the round pipe he gave me. And man, look at the sign he hooked me up with. Look at that bad boy right there. Yeah. Thank you, Mark. I appreciate it, my buddy. But here's what the steel looked like when I got it. See, it's been sitting quite some time. Yeah. I'm not exactly sure how long it had been sitting, but he told me it was quite some time. So I was wanting to clean it up before going to try and use it on the car. So I got some, I had my 7-inch sander, and I thought I'd try and hit it with the sander real quick, and I had some 80 grit, and I run the 80 grit on it, and it wasn't working real well. So I got this bright idea. One of my videos back on the roof of that Riviera, it was covered in surface rust. Wasn't any pitting, but it was just covered in surface rust, and it was hard to get off. So I did a rust removal with muriatic acid, and it's in one of my videos back a little ways. You can go find it. So I still had a bucket of the muriatic mix diluted with some water, and I had some water with some baking soda. Yeah, baking soda in it to neutralize it. So this is what I did. I coated it with the baking soda, or with the muriatic acid. Just doused it on there, and I let it set. Let me go around the other side where the light might be better. I doused it down with the acid. Whoa. Doused it down with the acid, and then let it set for maybe 10 minutes. I'm kind of impatient, so I let it set for maybe 10 minutes. Then I wiped it down with the neutralizing water with the baking soda in it. It neutralizes the acid, and I let it dry, and that's what it turned out like. So I'm ready to use that now. So what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to coat this one without cleaning it or anything. I'm going to coat this one and see what it looks like over a few minutes. So we need to, maybe I can put it on this. I can set this right here, and you guys can watch me do it. Let me go get some gloves. And I got a little thing of steel wool that I'll go get and bring out here. But this is all I did. Let me go get my steel wool because it fell in my bucket. And I want to thank my buddy Steve for the steel wool. So I'm just going to wipe this in, rub this in, and I would recommend using a respirator because this stuff gets stinky. This may work a little different because I didn't sand on this with 80 grit before I started this, so I don't know if this is going to take longer to do than it did on the other one. I don't know, but we're going to find out. I'm going to rub that stuff in. Alright, let's let that set a little bit. Okay, we're going to let that set for, let's try 15 minutes. I'm going to put a timer on it. We'll do 15 minutes and I'll come back. I may put another coat on it and see what it does. But let's try 15 minutes and come back and wipe it down, see what it says. Okay, here's what we're going to do. It's been 15 minutes. Set this up. Like I said, it's been 15 minutes. I went and got a piece of 80 grit sandpaper. I'm going to wet this down one more time with my muriatic acid. And I'm going to sand it with the 80 grit. Just run this over it. I didn't do this step on that one after I put the muriatic acid on. Gummy stuff right there. What's that here? This side was the worst side. Okay, let's see what it's going to look like. I'm going to put the, all right, reveal time. Let's see what it's going to look like. That actually looks a little better than I thought it was going to. And what I have off camera is a bucket that has water and the baking soda in it. And I'm just cleaning, dunking and cleaning the rags. And the baking soda neutralizes the acid, so and I learned to make sure you had a good mixture of baking soda and the water to neutralize this really well. Take a dry rag and dry it off real quick. If I'd have soaked these rags and covered this and left it on there for about 45 minutes to an hour, that stuff would have probably come out really, really clean. But, all right, let me see what time it is. Okay, so that was 10 minutes of me scrubbing it to finish it up, and it sat for 15 minutes, and I spent what, about 5 minutes on it before, so that's about 30 total minutes of taking it what it looked like before to what it looks like now. So, and then what I'm going to do next to keep it from flashing, flash rusting again, is I'm going to take WD-40 and I'm going to spray it. And coat it really well. That's what I did on the other piece. And now I got some metal I can work with. It's ready for me to try and cut. And I get ready to hang on. Oh, let me turn this over. So when I get ready to utilize it, all I got to do is finish sanding it down, and all I gotta do is finish sanding it down and welding it in. So there's what I got. You know what it looked like before? That's both pieces, and they're not covered in rust anymore and ready for me to use them. So what I'm gonna do next is I'm gonna bring them inside. Whoa, boy. What I'm gonna do next, I'm gonna bring them inside and set them down here on the floor next to the car, and then I can get ready to cut them. So till I get them in and get ready to start on those rockers, stick with me, stand by. What is that the TV said? Stand by for commercial break, I guess. Might be a good place for an ad. Anyway, I'll be back in a second. Here's the game plan. What I'm gonna do first, I'm gonna show you on this side of the car, since the other side, the other rocker is so jacked up already, and this one's kind of together. What I'm gonna do is I took a measurement. This edge right here is where the door shuts. From the top of this to the bottom of the rocker down here is 4 inches. What I have, I don't know if you can see it over there, is some 2x4 tube steel that's 3/16 in thickness. It's overkill for the rocker, but this is a budget build. So my buddy gave that to me. So I gladly accepted it because I just priced some steel out, and wow, I haven't bought steel in just a little while, but wow. So I was very happy that he was letting me have that. So and like I said, it is way overkill on thickness, and it's just overkill. But hey, what's that? What's I like to say? If it's free, it's for me. So I'm going to use that on this. I'm going to cut this area right here loose, and I'm going to come right down this side of the rocker to here, and I'm going to cut this out. I'm going to cut the inside of the rocker out, and then I'm going to come down here and cut this edge loose down here. Okay, all the way. It's about 6 foot from the back of where the rocker secures back there to where the rocker secures up here. So then I can take that 2x4 tube steel and I can run it up inside this rocker to meet the top of this and this, and then I'll weld the B pillar and the A pillar to the top of that tube steel, and that'll give me the height I need for my door to close right here. This is about 2 inches, so I have my 2-inch thickness right here, and then I can build from here in. I don't have to worry about sheeting it or whatever with 16 gauge or anything like that. I can just go straight off of here to secure it to the chassis. So that's the game plan. I'm going to start on the other side, because if you look at the other side from here, I hope you can see that it's pretty nasty, and the whole rocker is dead gum near off of there already. So I'm going to tackle that side first, and let me wheel my chair over there so you can see. But this rocker on this side, it is pretty bad. Okay, it's got a lot of rust holes in it. The other side is much better than this side. I don't know if this side's set on the ground or what, but I'm gonna start on this side over here. I'm gonna get my tube steel in here. I gotta cut it and get it in here, get it tacked in place, and then I'll probably come in here. It's pretty good through here to the very back corner, but I patch that, but I'll straighten this out, and I'll probably cut to come in here roughly about right here, I imagine somewhere in here, cut this out and fabricate this piece right here, which won't be very, very hard because it doesn't have a lot of curve to it, a lot of shape, and I can put a flange on it, and I can weld the flange directly to my tube steel. So, and then that'll connect everything here solid, and then I'll connect it to the back, and I'll show you that as I'm doing it. So that's where I'm going to start. Stick with me on it, and thank you guys for watching. here's what I got. I cut all the outside. You can see all the way down to that end down there. I cut out. And I cut out all the way under there to the end. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my steel that I got right there. I'm going to measure that out from where it meets right here, where the firewall is. I'm going to measure from here all the way to the back. Let me get my light again so you can see. I'm going to measure all the way back here to the back where the fender well is. I'll measure that, and then I'll cut my tube steel to length and I'll lay it in there. So I won't make you watch me just measuring and cutting that. So but I'll be right back. All right, here's what I got. I cut my tube steel. I cut it just a touch long. I actually have to move it this way just a little bit. If you look down and through that hole, you can see where it's not up against the toe board yet. So I got to hammer it back this way a little bit, but I got it fit in here. I had to cut this loose right here because this was shoved in. I went and checked it with the other side. This was shoved in and I couldn't get the steel up to this corner right here to line it up. And I got this lined up right here. And then since this is all rotted out, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and cut this section out probably right in here somewhere. And then I'm going to make this piece. And what I'll do is I'll flange it up here where it'll butt up against this. I'm going to tack this in place. And I'm going to mark all this. I'm going to pull this piece of tube steel out. I'm going to clean it down real good so I got good clean steel. I'll clean this side. I'll clean that back there. But this gives me my lip for the door. And then when I bend this up, I'm going to spot weld it in here, and I'm going to seam weld it along this edge right here. And I'll show you that when I get that piece made. But I'm going to make that piece from up here all the way back here. If that's, as long as that's not more than 36 inches, because my brake's only 36 inches. So whatever 3-foot piece I can make, that's what I'm going to make first. But I'll tack this in, and then on the inside, let me get my light. Ow, this is my head. On the inside, you can see where the bottom of the inner quarter panel fits. I'm going to clean all of this up, and I'm going to flange a piece to weld to here and to weld to here. And I'll spot weld a flange piece there, and I'll spot weld it to the top of this. That'll connect the inner quarter to the new rocker. And then I'll fabricate some little pieces back there in the back and connect the wheel well to the rocker also. And then the rocker panel should be fairly secure, and it'll be secure enough for me to do this edge on the outside of the rocker and tie all that together. And this side will be good enough where I can move to the other side and do the same thing, and then I can get this body up off of my little cart and bring the chassis in here and put the maybe set the body down over the chassis to see. Oh, I'm also, when I back up, when I pull this forward to match the toe board right here, then I'm gonna clean all this up, and I'm gonna cap the end of this probably, and then I'll weld a piece from the toe board. I got a piece of 16 gauge. I'll weld from the toe board down to this. That'll connect the firewall to the rocker. That'll connect this to the rocker. That'll connect the A pillar to the rocker, the B pillar to the rocker. This whole outside of the rocker part will be redone. That'll connect that to the quarter. And then the inside piece will connect that to the inside quarter. And then I'll connect the back piece in the back. I'll cap it off on both ends. So that's where I'm at right now. I'm going to drop this out, clean it up real good, grind it down to where some good metal showing, and then I'm going to cap those ends, so it's all ready to go back in. If I need to trim it, I may need to trim it back here. Hang on, let me get back here and see if you can see it. You see where this piece is sticking out? Probably gonna, I gotta hammer it forward to make sure it's far enough forward, and then I'm gonna trim this end off to make it the right length so that it ends right here at the wheel well. So I'll get that out of there and I'll start on that, and as soon as I get those trimmed down and cleaned up, I'll come back and stick it in, tack it in, and we'll get to fabbing up some stuff. So hang with me. Got my steel cleaned up, got it laid in here, clamped in place. I'm gonna tack it here, I'm gonna tack it here, then I'm gonna make my flange inside here and make this piece right here. Okay, here we go. Measure out the flange that I need back here. 22 inches. Okay, got a 22-inch piece of 18 gauge, marked it. I'm gonna flange it. Flanged it up so it'll fit in there. Now I'm gonna drill holes through here for spot welds. I'll be right back. Drill my spot weld holes in it. I'll clean them up real quick. Cut a little piece out back there in the back. I gotta curve this just a little bit like this for it to fit back there. Show you what that looks like real quick. So that's what I'm looking like right there. So I'm going to weld that in. I'll set the camera up over here. See if I can keep from hitting my dead gum head like I have been. Well, what'd I do with my gloves? That's about right. One more time. That's done. Let's get back out over here. Set you back up right here. Tell you what, before I make this outer piece, I think I'm gonna tie the end of this to the firewall. Trying to fab up a little piece of 16 gauge to go in this corner. I'll show you in just a second. Gotta turn the gas on. Okay. Alright, that's welded in place. Sounds good. It's all connected. Nothing flopping. Now let's see how much I can make of this. .36 is the right there. You make a 3-foot piece. Show you what I'm doing over here. got my marks from my bends. I'm gonna go bend it real quick. See how it turns out. Forgot I gotta mark them on both sides. Okay. Just to bend a little bit more. Bent that just a little too much, maybe. Relieve that a little bit. I hope you can see it. My angle right here is too steep in. I don't guess it makes that much difference really, because the door's going to shut there. So but I need to raise this edge up just a little bit. You can see how it's a little more gap on this end than this end. It's because about right here, this bend bends down a little bit, so I got to straighten that out just a little bit. I think that looks a little more better. Yeah, probably I need to straighten that out just a little more. Yeah, see how that looks. I don't know if you can see, the panel has a little bit of a bow out, just the slightest amount. See if I can get you an angle so you can see what I'm talking about. See when you line it up right there, on that corner. See that little bit of gap? That's there's a little bow outward. So I need to try and fix that where it's gonna bow out like that. So how I'm gonna do that is right here on this pole. See if I can bend it just a little bit around this pole. Too much in a spot there. Yeah, might have been a little too hard in the middle there. Well, I might have just jacked my whole panel up. I may have to go try and roll that in the English wheel and see if that'll come out. That lines up pretty good right there. So, alright. What I'm gonna do, I'm gonna go see if I can roll this in the English wheel one time, smooth some of this out. Then I'm gonna drill some spot weld holes in here to spot weld along this edge, and then what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna seam weld it on the bottom underneath here, and I'll tie all that together and then weld it to the end of the A-pillar right here, and then I'm going to build a piece off the end because this end piece tapers in, so I have to shape that a little different. So I'm going to do that separately, and then we'll make a piece to go from here to about here. I think that's where the rot's about gone, so I have to make a little piece right here to match this. So that's all pretty good. And then I'm going to weld the bottom of that quarter panel right to the bottom of that rocker. So, alright. Let me go roll this in the wheel for just a second. Just so you can see what I did, it had that arch in the middle. So what I did is I put the flattest wheel I had right here in my wheel, and I run it through like so. And I didn't do but about a couple of little strokes like that, and it flattened it back out for me. So it's one of the few little things that I can do with an English wheel. I'm really not very good with the wheel, so let's see what we got. I know I'm fixing to run out of battery life, so let's check this out real quick. Oh yeah, there we go. Alright, so I'm going to drill some spot weld holes and make sure it's just cleaned up where I need to weld it down, and I'm going to go ahead and tack it in, and then we'll make this piece over here. So stick with me. Okay, just to give you a little update real quick before I call it a day and we come back tomorrow. I've got this this panel all tacked in, and I got to looking at this, and I was just gonna like do a section here, but I got to looking back here, and it's kind of got a rough spot down here. I had to cut the edge off. It's got a big dent in there, and it's rusted back there, so I'm gonna have to patch it. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna make another panel like this to go all the way back here to where it starts to curve under for the fender. So that way I'll be able to patch all of this all in one shot. And that way it'll all be brand new, it'll all be solid, it'll all be secure. So I'm gonna jump on that tomorrow. So I'm gonna call it a day today, and we'll pick it back up where I left off. So thanks for sticking around, thanks for watching, and I'll see you tomorrow. Bye. I'm back. New day. I got this piece bent up to go in the back, and I'll show you right now, real quick, how I got to this point. And this piece is going to go right along here. Now what I'm going to do, I'm going to cut this bottom piece out real quick. I'm going to trim this edge so I can keep this rounded edge right here. I'm going to cut that out, and I'm going to lay this up here, and I'm going to cut it to the length I need on this end. Then I'll start fitting it in. So here we go with that. And I'm going to cut below that line, but I wanted to get me a line drawn so I'd know exactly where I needed to cut, and I didn't cut too far up or anything like that. So let me find my dead gum face shield. We put a good battery on this dead gum thing. Got lead in it right there. Must have been what that didn't like when I welded that the other day. And on these Tri-5s, they got a rubber seal that goes on the wheel well and seals the wheel well to the body. And that's what's in my way. Didn't really want to cut it, but I'm gonna need to. So all you Tri-5 guys, just don't be too mad at me for this. I don't know if this is a no for you guys or not, but you gotta do what you gotta do. And you get an idea of what I'm gonna do, then I'm gonna butt weld that quarter panel when I get it in place. Butt weld that quarter panel. But quite honestly, I think I cut too much out right here. Maybe. I did. I cut too damn much out right here. I cut too much out of that whole piece. Yep, that's the way it goes sometimes. Bend this edge right here down just a touch. Let's see, I'm gonna go bend it. I'll be right back. See my boo-boo? I cut too much off right there. Got a little too anxious with my cutting. It's perfect back here, but now I'm going to have to fill this in. But you can see how that's going to work now. What I'm going to do is I'll drill my spot welds here, and I should be able to pull this fender out a little bit to do my spot welds to the rocker. And then I can weld this together, and then I'm going to have to fill this in. I'm going to butt weld all this, and then I'll take a piece and form a piece here to make that curve right there. And then I'll weld it across the bottom. I'll weld it to the bottom of the rocker across the bottom. And that'll all be safe and secure, and then all I got to do is cap the end of this. And I got my body line, rockers done. Voila! So that worked out like I planned, with the exception of this big ass gap right here that I screwed up on. So let me clean the metal up, get my holes drilled, get it fitted back in place, and then I'll start tacking it in. So stay with me, I'll be back in a minute. I drilled my holes. I got under here and I tacked it before. I got under here and I managed to do spot welds in this area back here. Tack that. I got this tacked up right here. I'm gonna finish welding this, and then I got to weld everything along the bottom. The problem, another problem that I've run into now is looking at this. Let me get my light going here. Looking at this right here, I don't know if you can see that rusted spot right there. So I've got rust up here. So what I'm probably going to have to do is come up a little bit higher in this area and cut a strip out back here and patch that little piece in there. And hey, I'm not doing a concourse restoration. I'm building a rat rod. You guys know that. So I'm not really particularly worried about if it's going to look real good or not, because I like the rusted patina. That's what I'm going for. So what I might end up doing is treating it or painting it, making it look like rust. I may not grind the welds down. I don't know. I'll get there when I get there. So, but that's where I'm at right now. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut that strip out and fabricate up another piece to set in there and try and fix that gap. So luckily my gap boo-boo was not such a bad boo-boo, because I got more rust back there, so it's going to be a gap anywhere. So all right, well, that's where I'm headed, and hopefully I can get this finished up and I can get on the other side. So here we go. Well, I went ahead and made this little piece to fill in on the end down here, and I thought that tapered off, but note to self and note to anybody out there that don't want to mess up like I messed up, I didn't reference the other side. I thought this tapered off, and what it was, this side had been hit, had a little bit of damage to it, so it looked like it tapered off, but it didn't. So I went and referenced the other side, took my measurements, made this piece right here. So now I'm going to put it in here, weld it in, cap it off, and I'll be good to go. And there's a fender mount that's down here that comes off the end of this rocker, and I'll have to fab that up when I get the fenders set on it to figure out where that goes, and that'll be at a later time. But I'm gonna go ahead and weld this in and get that all tacked in and ready to go. And I'm gonna cut this back piece out. I'm gonna trim that out and try and fab up the patch for that. All right, guys, let me show you real quick what I did. I cut the piece, I trimmed 1.5 inches off of this edge right here, okay? That got rid of the little rusted spots that was back here. I measured it, I cut this, and then I don't know if you can see it, but then I went on my bead roller and I made just a little bit of a drop in that edge so that it can slide up under the edge of this of the body panel. So what's going to happen is, and I've got it all ready to go now, is that's going there. Got my magnet right here to pull the body line up. Let me get my glasses so I can see. Pull that body line up where it needs to be, and what it does, it'll give me, when that falls into that little gap like so, it'll line up, it'll give me a little bit of meat on the back side of this, where this is old and kind of rusty and kind of thinner. It'll give me some meat behind it to weld to. So that's why I put that little lip on there. So I'm gonna get in here and get it all fitted back in and get it all lined up, and I'm gonna go ahead and tack it in, and I'll show you when it's tacked in, and then pretty much this side will be done. I just need to weld everything in. So stand by just a minute. So I'll finish welding everything in, grind it down, but then that's going to be the patch right there. So all I have left to this side now, let me get this helmet off. All I have left to this side now is just to finish welding everything in. So I'm going to go ahead and finish welding everything in, grind whatever I need to grind down, and I'll come back and show you the finished product. So stick with me until then, and then as soon as I can get all that done, we go to the other side. Well, I go to the other side because I'm probably not going to show you this whole process again. So let me finish this. I'll show you the finished product, then I'll be able to do the other side. Stand by. Well, I finished it up. Here's what it looks like. I've welded and ground everything I'm going to weld on this side. This little piece in here, I got to fab up. That's why I didn't weld this little edge right here, to fab that up and patch that. I still got to patch some of this B pillar, but patched all of that. I didn't cap the end of this yet. I'll do that later. I want to try and get the other side done and get it on the chassis. So, but you can see my patch. It's not perfect, but that's it. And I still got to cap the end of this one right here, but I'll do that later. So it's all welded, top, the bottom to the rocker. It's all secure. The inside's welded to it. So this side is good to go. I can lift the body up on this side with no problem. Now I'm gonna go to the other side and knock it out. I'm not gonna show you all that because it's the same exact thing. The only difference I'm gonna do over there is I measured it out, and if you look at the rocker on the bottom of this, it's got a pretty bad dent right there. So I'm gonna check and see how much of that's bad, but I'm gonna go ahead and cut this out and patch it along with the outer rocker on this side. So that's gonna be the only difference. I'm gonna make two pieces instead of piecing in over there like I did over here. So that's where I'm at. I finished up. I'm happy with it. So let me get started on the other side, and then we'll see about getting the body on the chassis. So stick with me. Hey everybody. All right, you saw this. I did that side, so I went to the other side and I did the same thing. So this side's done. I still have to cap the ends on both ends. I have to cap them on both sides, but I'm ready to try and get the body on this thing. And you can see this side had a great big dent in it, so it's not quite as smooth and straight as the other side, but it's a rat rod. I don't care. So just to show you some of the mess that fell out of this dadgum thing when I cut the rocker off of it. That's all the crap that fell out when I cut the rockers off. So what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna clean my mess up first. I'm gonna get the chassis, probably, it's sitting outside. I need to change, let me go look at the chassis real quick. All right, I need to cut this cross member out right here. My door just slammed on me. I need to cut this cross member out right here. I'm going to weld in a piece of steel across here to hold that. In the end, I may need to move this right here because I'm going to try and set a gas tank in here. In that world being on the budget, I'm going to try and use the gas tank that's in this Mustang. When I got this car, it had Holly Sniper fuel injection on it, and it's got a high pressure fuel pump in tank. It's got a tank sink tank in it. I took all that off. Motor's got a fuel pump on it, so I'm gonna put a stock fuel tank in it, and I'm gonna take the high pressure one and I'm gonna use it in the 56 to go along with the LS over there. So like I said, budget. So let me go prep the chassis real quick and clean my mess up right here, and then I'm gonna get the body lifted off the cart, and then we'll wheel the chassis in here and see how it's gonna lay in here. I'm probably gonna have to cut, I'm gonna have to cut some of this out because I know the chassis is going to start to rise up before it gets to that rise in the back there. So I know I'm going to have to cut some of this out, which isn't a problem. The cross members that runs across here, the floor support, it's rotted, number one, and it's not hooked up on either side. So I can just cut that across there and drop that out as I need. So clean my mess up, get the frame ready. I'll be right back. Well, I cut the supports out of the frame, put a tube across the back of the chassis, and I've cut the floor everywhere I think I need to cut it. So as you can see, cut that piece out. I notched up right there, I notched over there, I notched over here, and let me go around to the back. And then I've cut the trunk floor out, notched it up in both places. I think I got it lined up where it needs to be. So let's let it down and let's see. So let's let it down, let's see how close I am. So here we go. I see a problem already. Right there. It's hitting right there on the inside. And it's hitting over there on the inside. I'm okay up front right now. Let me go look back here. I'm clear. Oh, I gotta cut that. Clear. Oh, I'm gonna have to cut that. Let me notch that out. Okay. I'll tell you what. Stand by while I do that. Let me raise the chassis back up. Let me read it. Let's check it out now. It's gonna clear. It's all the way down. Bada bing, huh? Let's see. I might need to move it a little bit forward. Okay, it's all the way down. Everything cleared on this side. Okay. Let's check and see where we're at down here. Because I really want bottom of the frame to be level with the bottom of the chassis. That looks like it. What you guys think? I can't get a good side shot of it. Let me go see over here. I think I'm a little too far back still. I think that wheel needs to be this way just a little bit. So let me check that out, take some measurements, do some referencing, and see what I can come up with. Stand by. Okay guys, here's the deal. I brought the front cap in and put on it. I think I got it exactly where it needs to be. The tire's where it needs to be. It's going to actually have bigger tires on it than that in the end. So it's still resting on my lift, but it's where it needs to be as far as where it's sitting on the chassis. So right now the rocker is sitting about 3/4 of an inch below the bottom of the frame. So, but everything's in. I'm gonna have to rebuild the floor and all that stuff, but it's sitting in there. The front fenders need to come down just a little bit. I'll have to mess with that, but right now I guess the spindles are supposed to be kind of centered in here, I'm hoping, because they are at the moment. A couple of things I got to tweak. Where the fender comes down, like I said, this has got to come down some, but I got to trim this outside rocker that I built. I have to trim it to match the fender. That's why I was hesitant on boxing, going ahead and capping the end of that, because both of these I got to trim them down and put them down in place. So and if you're wondering, you know this thing's called the deuce, and I'll tell you why. When I brought this thing home, my wife looked at it in the yard and she said, "What is that?" And I said, "That's my rat rod project." She said, "It looks like somebody came and took a dump in our yard." She said that a little more harshly than I just put that. And I said, "I got a vision. It's going to be okay." And she said, "It looks like crap." And I said, "I got a vision. It's going to be okay." And she said, "I'm going to name it the Deuce because that's what it looks like. Somebody number 2'd in our yard." And she put that a little more harshly than I just put it to. So that's how I got the name the Deuce. She likes naming them. So this one is the Deuce. It does look kind of like a pile of crap, but it's going to be a nice rat rod, I think. So I got the wheels lined up. I think everything's where it should be. Like I said, the front of the fender is going to come down some. So I think everything will be lined up. And I got to remove the windshield, get that out of there. So I'm going to go ahead. It's Friday afternoon. I think I'm going to go ahead and end the video here. I'll just go ahead and weld the body to the chassis a little later off camera, but it's sitting where it needs to be. It's lined up where it needs to be. I'm going to double check it and make sure it's centered in the vehicle, but it sure looks like I'm going to be able to run the big meats that I want. I want to run at least a 295 on the front, and I want to run at least a 305 on the rear. So it looks like that's going to go like I wanted it to. My back seat, I wasn't going to put a back seat in it. I was going to delete it. So, and I guess that's a good thing, because of the way that frame runs up, the seat wouldn't fit back there, really. But that's fine. My wife needs a place to put luggage. So that's what I'm going to build. I'm going to build a little luggage holder back there. So, and then I'll probably bead roll a bunch of metal and everything, make my panels and everything, try and make it look pretty nice in there. So that's my vision with it. I know I got a lot of work to do, but hey, I feel like I've done a tremendous amount. This took a lot longer. I thought it was going to be 2 days, and this took a whole lot longer than I thought. One other thing I want to tell you guys, man, I am honored and astonished and humbled and just amazed at the number of subscribers I've gotten over my last 3 videos. I was stuck at 174 subscribers for about a month right before Christmas. And I figured, well, that's the way it's going to be. that's what I'll have, and I'm gonna rock on just like that. Well, over the last 3 weeks, I went from 174 to, the last time I checked, this is Friday. What is this? I can't even remember what day it is. 19th, whatever Friday is, before Inauguration Day. That was, see, no, that'd be 19th. 17th. Friday the 17th. Today is Friday, January the 17th. So roughly 3 weeks, I went from 174 to 535. I'm just flabbergasted and amazed and just honored that there's that many people that would watch me. And it's like I said once before, sometimes I wonder if people are punishing you guys and strapping you down to a chair and making you watch my videos. But I thank each and every one of you. I always seem to forget at the end of my videos to ask to like, comment, subscribe, and so forth. So I'm going to ask, please, if you would continue to subscribe, I would be very appreciative. I'm just, it's just crazy to me that all this is going on. But, you know, hit that like button. That way I know you're doing it. I got a lot of comments. This video is a little longer. I did some stuff different. Trying to adjust for some of the comments that were made. Trying to make my videos more entertaining and better if I can. So if you don't like what I changed, I did a little less fast forward, you know, let me know. If you like the way I was doing it before, you know, I'm just trying to make better entertainment for everybody out there while I work on these old cars. So with that being said, I'm going to end the video here. Guys, keep your head up. Don't look down on yourself. Don't look down on others. Okay? Get out there, work on them old rides. Save these old rides. Whatever it takes. Make yourself happy. Make somebody else happy. But until next time, hey, bye.